folks. Welcome to Follow the Leader, a podcast focused on telling character-driven stories through the use of GM-less tabletop games where we can all take the lead. You can find us on Twitter at FTLcast and at FTLcast.com. And we also have a Patreon at patreon.com/FTLcast, where you can find outtakes, bloopers, cool bonus episodes, and if you're a patron at the $5 level, you might be listening to this early. Today we're playing Random Access Histories by Ben Roswell. For those of you who are new to this game, here are the basics. There is a term called pixel bloom that refers to the light from a single pixel spilling outward, blurring into and illuminating its neighbors. When scientists were asked to name the manner of information sharing between an entangled mech and pilot, they remembered the seeping glow of figures on the otherwise dark cathode ray screen. When the bloom occurs, memories, thoughts, emotions, and sensations may bleed from pilot to mech and back again. I'm August, and you can find me on Twitter at HarpyDora and the games that I write at harpydora.itch.io, and my pronouns are they, them. Playing with me today, we have a special guest, Danielle.
Hi, I'm Danielle. I use she or they pronouns, and you can find me on the internet at RedTailTalk90.
Our lines, which are things we absolutely do not want to see, are homophobia and transphobia, racism, sexism, anti-Semitism, violence against children and animals, sexual assault, domestic violence or intimate partner violence, unwanted pregnancy, plagues and pandemics, and self-harm. Our veils, which are things we're fine with addressing but will just fade to black on, are steamy situations, graphic descriptions of bodily harm, and terminal illness. Now that we've got all that, let's get started. So, for folks who've been hanging around for a while, you may have noticed that we have played this game on stream at least 3 times. I say we, as in the members of the Standing Stones Guild. I've actually played this game with Danielle before on stream. It's been really fun, but it is my favorite game of all time, basically. So I figured it was criminal that we haven't done it as a main feed episode. So that's what we're doing here today. This game is pretty simple. It's a game about the stories we carry with us in our bodies and how we share them with each other. The objective of the game isn't to succeed or fail at any one action, but rather to build and explore a changing relationship between 2 entangled people. It is a game about partnership and understanding. So, for the setup, as a team, we play our side's best hope in the conflict against an overwhelming enemy. It drew the 2 of us together and continues to bind us as we go forward. Together, we'll choose 3 adjectives from a list in the doc to describe the threat that we face, and then we'll choose one thing that sets the threat apart and makes facing it overwhelming. Other enemies, creatures, allies, or wars may have had the other 2 attributes, but the one that we pick at the end is the reason why this is especially important and especially daunting. The attributes for our enemy also reveal something about the force that we fight and or our reason for existing. So, what do we want our 3 adjectives to be? We always have a theme of God killing on FTL, so we could go with angelic.
I'd be alright with that. What about poisonous?
Ooh. I like that idea a lot. I'm not really feeling mutated or alien.
Yeah, no.
Maybe unknowable?
How about unpredictable?
Ooh, yeah, good call. So, which of these three things are unique to this particular thread? I'm kind of leaning angelic.
Mm-hmm.
Just because, like, if this turns out to be a god-killing scenario, that's not something that has probably happened before.
Right. I'd be alright with that. Yeah.
Okay. And now we have to name our threat, which is, at the very least, what we call them. Not necessarily their true name or anything, especially if they're angelic. They may not, we may not be able to comprehend their true name, but what do we call them?
Hot Wheels.
Are you serious? 'Cause I'll write it down.
I'm half joking. It was the
Okay.
first thing that came to my mind.
God. Yeah, don't tempt me. I'll do it. Like, Anya says joking stuff all the time that I accidentally take seriously and try to follow through on before they're like, no, I was just joking. So
Yeah, like I said, I'm only half joking. Because, like, you have the wheels and the fire and the...
yeah. Although it could just be angels in cars. Angels in tiny cars.
Who knows? They're unpredictable.
Yeah.
I think it should be a little more serious than that.
Yeah. The host?
Yeah.
I mean, Hot Wheels can still come up and play. There's nothing saying that we can't do that, so... So the next thing that we have to do is we have to describe the mech.
Mm-hmm.
And again, the mech player chooses 3 adjectives and then chooses one of them as the thing that sets them apart.
Mm-hmm.
Again, other mechs, robots, or people in our world may share the other 2 attributes, but the one that we choose is what makes them the best hope to win the war.
Let's see. I think I'm leaning towards animalistic.
Mm-hmm.
I see holy here, but it makes me think maybe profane?
Ooh.
I think I like that.
Dig it. Dig it.
And...
So I'm gonna make a pitch for 2.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm a sucker for, like, grizzled veteran meets bright-eyed rookie.
Uh-huh.
I would pitch either storied or ancient.
Yeah. I like storied. Let's go with storied.
Cool. And what sets you apart?
I think storied.
Okay.
Yeah.
Unrelated, I just want you to know you're an anonymous goose.
Good.
Honk.
I'm here to cause problems on purpose.
Yep. You're here to threaten me with a knife because you woke up this morning and chose violence.
Yep.
Okay.
I've made you cry before. I can do it again.
Yes. Yes, I believe in you. Oh, God. Fuck off. All right. So, the next step is for you to choose a name for your mech.
My mech is Kiki.
Hell yeah. And Kiki's pronouns are she, her?
Yes.
Cool. And I'm going to do the same process for the pilot. I'm going to go for loyal for 1. And a lot of these adjectives, we're not talking about these adjectives, but a lot of them are really cool.
Yeah, they are.
Not seasoned. Ooh. How about cloned? with the implication of genetic modification.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm torn between like awoken and resonating.
Mm.
Because awoken could be really fun as far as like, you know, genetic modification to awaken like some sort of sixth sense to make us able to combat the threat, or
Right.
resonating as in like being super good at the piloting thing.
Mm.
I'm leaning towards awoken though. I think awoken,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's gonna be the one that I pick that sets me apart.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I am going to be playing Marnie Sands, who uses she, her pronouns. So the last thing that we need to decide is that our co-pilots are working against the threat, but that doesn't mean that we're always on the same side of every decision. In Random Access Histories, we play a pair who has been brought into conflict with each other for some reason, be it major or minor, and we start in either a state of full sync or full desync. The conflict also serves as a starting place for our story. Some example conflicts include a bad first meeting throws both of us off course. An injury means you must change the way that you battle. An old partner returns and throws a wrench in your communication, and a shared connection with a past pilot puts a strain on your relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any strong feelings either way?
Not any super strong feelings. What are you thinking?
I don't know. So, like, I'm wondering if we've just been partnered up,
Mm-hmm.
but that's not because it's because the previous pilot got injured, not necessarily killed. Like, the previous pilot is still around and
Right.
you've been reassigned to me, or I've been assigned to you in your previous pilot's stead.
Yeah, I like that.
Cool.
All right.
Hell yeah. So, playing the game, you take a deck of cards with the jokers removed. These cards represent memories that we share. So it's difficult to play it exactly as written with Roll20 or online card things. So what you're supposed to do is deal 13 cards to each player to represent the memory bank, and that's what we draw from. But online, you typically just have to draw 3 cards from the deck itself. And these represent memories that float close to the surface of our mind. And we play a series of scenes or moments in the war that we're fighting, and we take turns establishing scenes by naming an action that you want to take. Actions can be small or large, but each should be a significant part of your journey towards or away from understanding each other. And then we role play the scene freely, and the player who did not establish the scene may choose at any point to play a card to represent the memory that gets shared between you.
Mm-hmm.
The player who plays the memory outlines it, but the other player should feel free to make suggestions or ask clarifying questions. And when the memory is done, we return to the original scene and continue playing as if you've returned from a flashback. We play out how it affects us having relived the memory with your co-pilot, and at the end of the scene, when we both feel the scene is done, we discuss whether it brought us closer to understanding or put up barriers between us. And if we feel that it brought us closer together, we place the memory in the sync pile. And if it caused confusion or complication or dissonance, we place it in the desync pile. And if we don't agree after some light discussion, it automatically goes in the desync pile.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll get to the Bloom and Memorial Walls as we get there. So let us get started. Do we want to start with the introduction immediately, or do we want to say that we've already met each other?
Both could be good.
Yeah. That's the thing. Granted, we could always flip a coin and let that decide, because either we go with what the coin flip says or we realize we want the opposite of it, so.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was gonna say, who's going to frame the first scene?
You do, since you're the guest.
Okay. Alright, I think this is the first official meeting.
Mm-hmm.
I think probably they have seen each other around, or, they were both in the same meeting when a superior officer told them, like, hey, you're going to be working together now.
Yeah.
So it's not like they have never met each other. But I think this is the first time, maybe, that Marnie is getting hooked up.
Okay.
Or maybe the first time, like, we're doing some light training exercises to test how well we work together.
To, like, test the neural...
Yeah. The neural connection. So...
Are we on, like, a practice field?
Yeah.
How big is Kiki?
Large, but not, like, humongous.
Mm-hmm. Like, as big as a house, but not as big as a skyscraper kind of deal?
Yeah. And I think she takes the form of a hellhound.
Nice.
Going in a kind of Zoids direction. And, like, her plating is all, like, gunmetal black. And she has got a variety of, like, different weapons that could come out of, like, her shoulders or whatever, but also, like, has a working mouth kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the pilot sits, like, in her chest cavity.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so I think the scene opens on Kiki sitting at the edge of the practice field.
Mm-hmm.
And we can see in the distance a couple of, like, ensigns setting up some kind of target or, like, a defender for us to practice against.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm gonna deal 3 cards to myself. So, I have a question, like, are we on Earth?
I don't know.
I kind of like the idea that we're on some other, like, planetoid, maybe smaller planet, a little bit distant, and that's where we found the angelic force.
Mm-hmm.
So I mainly ask because I just had the image of, like, a purple, like a blazing purple sky while we're doing this.
Nice.
And I think Marnie's, like, strapped in. How much of a cockpit is this? Is this, like, a full-on, like, fighter jet cockpit, or is this just sort of like a chamber where the pilot hooks in and there's not much else around?
Somewhere in between, I think. You have a bunch of different controls for, like, different kinds of sensors and weapon. But there aren't as many, like, motion controls because that's all just thought-based, I think.
Okay. Sounds good. So I think Marnie, like, I want to say that it's like a physical connection, at least at first. Like, there's something, like, there's a plate at the back of Marnie's head where, like, some physical thing has to be hooked up to begin with to establish the connection. And I think Marnie's, like, fiddling with that, and that probably comes through as, like, a weird tickling sensation almost. Just but like, she can't stop fidgeting with it. And I think that Marnie is, we know that Marnie is cloned. So I think we both agree that all of the pilots are cloned. So there's that sense of familiarity, which may lend itself to a sense of wrongness, because Marnie's got a similar brain and a similar face, but she's not Kiki's pilot.
Right.
And Marnie, like, says out loud, because she's still getting acclimated to the connection, says out loud, are you ready?
I think Marnie gets the sensation of, like, closing up a box and putting it aside, and then I think she hears it mentally. I'm always ready.
And Marnie nods and responds mentally, and the words they're shaky, like they're coming through like it's a bad Discord call at first, and then they kind of resolve themselves. All right, let's get going. And she, like, mentally nudges Kiki's body forward. And I'm not sure, like, the connection starts off as shaky, but I'm not sure if that should be reflected in their movement at first. Or if it should be, like, training kicking in kind of thing.
I think there might be a moment, because, like, Kiki's sitting, and Marnie's just like, okay, let's go. And so, like, Marnie is trying to make them walk forward, but she's still sitting down, and so there's a moment of just, like, it doesn't work. and then Marnie hears, like, the mental equivalent of a sigh. And then Kiki stands up, and there's a sensation of, like, double vision joining. You know what I'm talking about? Like putting on glasses, right? Everything's fuzzy, and then it comes into clarity. And then I think from then on, it's training, because Marnie's brain is very similar, and Kiki knows how it works for the most part. And Kiki has done this a lot, so.
Yeah. Although this particular unit cloned a bunch of, like, neurodivergent Rex to be their mech pilots, so I'm not 100% sure what they expect of everything, but I guess it's working because they keep doing it. So I think there's a sense of exhilaration from Marnie. This is the first time that she has been inside a mech, I think. And it's much different than she imagined. And I don't know what Kiki makes of that exhilaration, but it's, like, the strongest feeling that's coming through the bloom.
Yeah. I think Kiki mirrors a lot of it back, because, I mean, this situation might be weird, and Marnie might be new, but Kiki loves this shit. And so, like, she gets really into the movement and, like, the racing across. I'm kind of imagining almost like a desert or scrubland, like racing across the open area towards the target. And there's a sense of, like, stretching after being cramped for a long time. And the kind of happiness and satisfaction that comes with that. And I think they close in on the target, which is, I don't know, shaped vaguely humanoid-ish, probably. How does Marnie get Kiki to attack it?
So I think Marnie gets a little lost in the sauce here in
Mm-hmm.
the freedom of movement, and I'm playing a memory here because this place reminds Marnie of the training grounds that she's spent most of her time in since being grown.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and Kiki gets these flashes of Marnie running through similar like scrubland, like I don't want to say doing laps, but there's a word for it, like doing a circuit
Mm-hmm.
around a training course,
Mm-hmm.
and just like, you know, she's not super strong or super fast, but, you know, training up her endurance and just like getting into the feeling of her limbs moving. And I don't think that she thinks to trigger any of the weapons
Mm-hmm.
on Kiki as they approach the target.
Mm-hmm. Uh, I think that there's a point in the memory maybe where Marnie has to like make a long jump or something.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we see like the two images layered over each other as Kiki leaps at the target
Mm-hmm.
and tackles it to the ground.
I think in the memory it went a little differently, and Marnie ate shit on the sand,
Yes, good.
which I'm almost imagining it as like volcanic sand, so it's like sharp and unpleasant.
Oh, buddy. Yes, good. I like that. I cannot see the card that you played.
It's the Seven of Clubs, which
Okay.
I should have said anyway. So
Okay. Yeah. Word.
cool. So I'm not sure, do we want it to go into more detail about like how Kiki takes the target down, or how further this the sequence goes?
No, I kind of like it with that just double image.
The juxtaposition.
Yeah, I really like that.
Okay. I kind of feel like this is sync.
I do too.
We'll put that in the sync pile. Next scene. So I want there to be a skirmish that we get deployed to. Like it's before we've been through all of our paces together. We get deployed to contain this skirmish, or to like solve this skirmish near the base. It's not like a big attack. Maybe it's only one or two of the host instead of like an entire legion. But they're here, they're on our doorstep, and we need to do something about it. And I'm almost imagining like, you know, the opening scene from Pacific Rim where we're in a, you know, the camera's in the bunk to start with, and there's a bunch of clones. I don't think they're all named Marnie. I think that they each get their own name, you know, their own designation, and like different units get different surnames. So like Marnie's in the Sands unit.
Good.
But, you know, they get awoken by the klaxon. Some of the clones are like really hype about going out. Marnie like rolls out of bed almost literally, and starts climbing into it's not a flight suit, but it's like, you know, the pilot suit that she gets in, which I'm imagining is like almost like not quite a spacesuit, but something similar to like help maintain like blood pressure during like particularly high G maneuvers, you know, something where if like she got space, she could survive for like a minute or two. that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And she like pulls herself, like, I'm imagining there's just like some sort of rigging that she can use to like climb up into the cockpit so that like Kiki doesn't have to lie down or anything.
Mm-hmm.
And she gets herself strapped in. And what did Kiki's previous partner call her?
Call Kiki?
Yes.
Probably Kiki. Well,
because I'm just thinking, like, they may have had like a close bond, and so there may have been, some sort of nickname or something like that.
Mm-hmm. I think, so in non-mech world, Kiki is short for Flaky, and here I think Kiki is an initialism, or I guess an acronym actually. But I do like the idea of someone reverse engineering like an actual name from that acronym.
Mm-hmm.
And how sappy do we want to be?
Be as sappy as you want.
I'm thinking something almost like My Light.
Okay.
Or
the reason I'm asking is because Kiki is storied, there are rumors and stuff swirling around about like, Kiki and her last pilot. And if there was a nickname that wasn't too sappy, Marnie was gonna use it right there.
I do like that. Yeah, I don't want to stick you with saying Kiki's full name though. What's something like fond you would call a dog?
My brain just popped up with Old Sport, and that's not true. I haven't even read The Great Gatsby in like literally decades. What the fuck? I mean, we call our dog Buddy all the time, so. So, and I feel like that's just over familiar enough without being like,
yeah,
egregious. So I think as Marnie climbs in, she's just like, all right, buddy, let's go. In just a completely unearned fashion.
Yeah, and I don't think there's too much time for Kiki to think about it. So I think they have to jump right into action. And what does the host that we're fighting look like?
Hang on, let me I immediately had an image in mind because of who I am as a person. I am imagining Chaos from Hades.
Okay, all right.
Just, so, like, unnerving. Like, for folks who've never played Hades, Chaos has a little bit of like the traditional angelic look going on, but is also like unnerving and has like various growths and eyes and head wings and a little unsettling. And also probably like 30 feet tall.
So Marnie climbs into Kiki and is like, all right, let's go, buddy. And Kiki springs into action because she was literally just waiting for Marnie to get here before she could, like, get going. She was almost literally chomping at the bit. And about halfway into their run towards the site of the battle, Marnie hears Kiki replaying what Marnie said.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a wave of annoyance, and I am going to play the 4 of Hearts, and I think that after that wave of annoyance, Marnie then gets, like, what are they called? It's like those clips of, like, every single time the doctor says brilliant clipped together. You know what I'm talking about? What are they called?
Mm-hmm.
Compilations?
Yeah.
It's like that, but it's every single time that Kiki's previous pilot called her buddy.
So, I am going to propose a thing, because Marnie's name means, like, from the ocean.
Mm-hmm.
I pasted a link of a bunch of different ocean-themed girls' names, if you want to pick from one of those for Marnie's previous pilot, or for Kiki's previous pilot.
Oh, nice. Nice. Alright, because of who I am as a person, I'm gonna go with Morwenna.
Nice. I think Marnie, like, falters for a second. Like, she's used to seeing her own face all around the barracks and stuff. That's not a big deal. But, like, having that played back at her with the emotion tied to it, plus, like, being able to read the emotion in Morwenna's, like, tenor when she called Kiki buddy, like, is almost a slap in the face. But Marnie's able to, like, hold it together as they charge forward towards the member of the host. But I don't think she gets lost in the sauce this time. I do think that she's able to, like, trigger Kiki's weapons as they're approaching, like, as soon as they get within range. And I think that if you don't mind me embellishing a little bit, I think that, like, you know, since you mentioned Zoids, I'm imagining there's, like, a cannon that comes out of Kiki's back, but it's got runes all along the barrel, and as the cannon, like, fires, the runes flare into life, imbuing the projectile with, you know, profane energy. So it, like, streaks forward, leaving a jagged gash of, like, glowing darkness in its wake.
Love that. Yes, sexy.
And it hits the host, and, like, the host lets out a soul-splitting scream. Like, just the kind of thing you don't hear it with your ears, you feel it in your chest, kind of thing. Well, Marnie does. And by extension, I guess Kiki would, because also Marnie's in Kiki's chest, so... But for Kiki, it's probably not old hat, but, like, she's experienced it plenty times before, but Marnie, this is the first time that Marnie's really experienced it firsthand. Do you think we have any trouble dispatching this?
I don't think so. I think Kiki gets a little banged up, but for the most part, especially once, like, reinforcements arrive, we're able to kind of clean it up pretty well.
Okay. I'm kind of leaning desync on this one.
Me too.
Yeah, because it was a serious misstep on Marnie's part, and then being shown that, you know, just kind of, like, made her recoil a bit, so...
Okay. I think... Alright. What if Marius is Kiki's mechanic?
Oh, that's so good. That's so good. I'm just imagining the absolute tirade that they're putting together for Marnie right now.
Uh-huh. I think... Because I think this scene is either just after Kiki is repaired, or as Kiki is being repaired from this battle. And you can't play two people at once, which is why I'm saying maybe it's just after. Or maybe Marius was like, alright, you're gonna go fix this your fucking self because you got her into this mess.
Yeah.
Or something along those lines, but...
Yeah, Marius, like, choose Marnie out, just, you know, they don't swear, they very rarely swear, but, you know, just lights her up, and is just like, and now I have to go find and requisition this particular repair part, and you have no idea how much that's going to inconvenience everyone in this hangar, and I can't look at you. I'm going to go requisition this, but I can't look at you anymore. And they just stalk off, leaving Marnie to perform like minor repairs and check in on Kiki.
I love them.
They're so terrible. I love them too.
Yeah. So Marius has stalked off to go find this other part. And I think Barney gets a wave of amusement from Kiki. And I think she says, well, you've passed your first milestone, and survived a Marius tirade.
Marnie kind of winces and, like, rubs at the back of her head where the neural plate is installed, and is just like, doesn't feel like a victory.
There is no winning against Marius, there's only surviving them.
Yeah, I'd rather go back out and face the host.
They're not so bad once you get to know them.
And Marnie kind of looks at the repair repairs, the repair list. That's the word I'm looking for. Marnie looks at the list of repairs and, you know, picks up like a wrench and a handful of bolts, and like looks at an exposed panel and is just like, well, they're right, I might as well try to fix some of my mess. And she starts working on, like, honestly, it's probably more cosmetic than anything, but you know, it's at ground level, and you know, if she fucks it up, it's not going to be as big a deal.
Right, yeah. I think... Is Kiki the kind of person to just metaphysically watch over Barney's shoulder?
I mean, it's her body.
Yeah. I think, at least in this incarnation, she is. And so Marnie gets that sensation of someone watching over your shoulder, like what you're doing. And she says, you didn't sustain any damage, did you?
Marnie just kind of ducks her head and is just like, no, I'm fine. It's fine. I'm just sorry that you got so banged up.
There's another wave of that amusement. And Kiki says, it's what I was made for.
Oh. Thank you. Thank you for that. I'm playing the Queen of Hearts.
Uh-huh.
Hearts being memories tied to people, and the Queen being a very important memory.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is Marnie. She's been freshly decanted from the vat that she was born in.
Uh-huh.
And she's in the infirmary getting checked over, getting her implants checked over, that kind of thing. And one of the other clones gets wheeled in practically in traction.
Mm.
And Kiki gets the feeling that she's aghast at it for a second, and then she looks at one of the doctors slash technicians that's looking her over, and is just like, what happened to her? And if you want to play the doctor, feel free.
Okay. Just to keep you from having to talk to yourself, unless you have a specific idea. I think the doctor says something along the lines of, her mech was crushed by the latest host.
That kind of feeling of, it's not revulsion, it's something else, like you're shocked and taken aback, but it's not like a physical revulsion. But that feeling kind of like permeates the bloom from the memory, and Marnie goes, why was she, why did that happen to her? Like, why didn't she retreat? Why didn't she?
I think the doctor shrugs and says, retreat is rarely an option. God, how mean is this bastard?
I don't know if too many of the people in this program view the clones as people.
Yeah. And almost under his breath, I think he says, pilots are easily replaceable.
Marnie, takes a deep breath, like she's internalizing that.
Mm-hmm.
And just kind of quietly nods and says, will that be me one day?
Could be. Depends on how lucky you are. I wouldn't get too worried about it. After all, it's what you were made for.
And the memory ends, and Kiki's just kind of like, her hands have stopped, and she's just got a bolt half attached back, and then she just shakes her head and says, I mean, just because something's made for something doesn't mean that it's great when it gets scuffed up,
I think Marnie feels Kiki retreat, and there's a sense of heat and anger and that kind of thing where you know that you're angry and you know that you're going to lash out at the next person who talks to you, and so you walk away.
Mm-hmm.
And so she pulls back a bit, and what does she say? She says, I think she just says, no, that's not what pilots are for. And she, kind of falls silent for a while.
I think Kiki can feel Marnie withdrawing too, and because of that, I don't know that she necessarily realizes that Marnie didn't really understand what Kiki was saying.
Mm-hmm.
And so Marnie's just like, Marius is probably going to be back here soon. I don't think I want to be here when they get here. So I'm just gonna, trying to be a little chipper, but completely failing. And, she makes a sort of like sloppy half salute as she beats a retreat.
Mm-hmm. Word.
So, sink or desync? I feel like it could go either way.
Yeah, I think it's sync for Kiki.
Okay.
I don't know if Marnie feels the same way.
No, that feels right.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, it's August, and I just wanted to thank you for listening. If you've enjoyed us, please consider leaving a rating on your podcast platform of choice, telling your friends about us, or tweeting about us using the FTLcast hashtag. We are also part of a nonprofit podcasting guild called Standing Stones Productions. We do a variety of shows, including The Room Where It Happened and Dumb Kids Playing Hero, 2 actual play shows, and a Steven Universe discussion podcast called Gay Space Rocks. We also do live streams at twitch.tv/standingstonesprod. You can keep up with everything that we do on Twitter at stones_standing. Unfortunately, Standing Stones was already taken. Your support means a lot. Thanks again!